It's funny how when you read the Bible, a lot of things will come to your mind, right? Things will come back to you that maybe you forgot that happened to you, experiences. And for me, it was what it was like when I first came to faith. Right? I kind of grew up sort of in church, but not really. And there was a point where God got a hold of me. I started reading Scripture, and I started to realize, wow, this is what it's about. It's not about all this religious stuff and all these things. It's about Jesus dying for me and He loves me. I'm not trying out for the team. I'm already there. He loves me. And that was just amazing. It was mind-blowing. And I had a friend at that time who really helped me. We worked together. We played in bands together, and we were just kind of joined at the hip in a lot of ways. I mean, spiritually, musically, and all that. And he was the only person during that time that would push me to put worship into everyday life, living for Jesus in every segment of my life. Because I would be trying to sort of explain away, say, maybe in the band thing, I don't really have to bring Jesus into that, do I? I don't at work here, I don't really have to, bring all of that. And he'd be like, no, and he'd always push me back to the Scripture, to passages like we're going to talk about today. We're going to look in Revelation 4 and 5. Now, I say he was the only one because there were a whole lot of other people really close to me, that I will say did not share my enthusiasm for the Lord, if you know what I'm saying. I was never mean. I was never you're going to go and burn if you don't believe in Jesus. I mean, I wasn't cornering my parents and, and saying, if you were to die tonight, what would happen to you? I wasn't doing that. I was just so excited about what Jesus did. And, and I didn't want them to miss that. So I think, if separation from God was going to be their eternal thing, man, I wanted them to know what he did. And I remember really clearly, I came across the passage where Paul says to pray without ceasing. Right? And for whatever reason, man, that got into me. And so I remember talking with people in my family, man, we're supposed to pray all the time, not just on Sunday, and not just maybe before the meal, but we should be praying. We should never stop praying. And they looked at me like I had 5 heads. They were like, what? And I think immediately they went to a really bad place. In fact, I remember my grandmother saying at the time, I guess she had heard about some cult, right? And it was sort of semi-religious, and maybe Jesus had something to do with it. And I guess somebody in that cult had jumped up onto a roof and thrown themselves off and killed themselves, in the name of Jesus or something. She's like, are you going to be one of those? And I was like, no. No, because anytime I hurt myself or someone else, that's not being on fire for Jesus. You don't literally set yourself on fire, right? You don't do those kinds of things. That's just, you're not going to find that in the Scripture. Cults and abuse and all those things. But what happened is a lot of people that you come across, that's what they see. You're man, I just love Jesus. I want you to come to church and this and that. And they're just whoa. Right, next thing you know, we're buying land out somewhere and, and having a compound and getting arms and, no, that's not how it works. No, it is radical, but it's radical in a way that I don't know that our world understands, right? Radical love, radical sacrifice, radical caring and listening. We're going to listen when no one else does. We're going to care when everyone else splits, right? We're going to be there when everyone else abandons, right? That's what we are. That's because Jesus. And listen, and every bit of that is our act of worship. Because I think what happens is we become, and sometimes I wonder, and I worry, my biggest fear is that I become like all those people who are saying, tone it down. Tone it down. It's a little too much. Praying all the time, that's a little too much. And I thought of it then, and I think of it now. Why would I ever stop talking to God? Why would I ever... You know what I mean? He's in everything that I do. Everything comes from him. Now, if that's not true, that maybe there's a whole part of my life, like outside of Sunday, that really doesn't have anything to do with him. And it's funny because the very same people that would shoot me down for being too crazy or too in your face would also say, like, look, you're the Sunday you doesn't line up with the Thursday you. You see? And that's the devil going, man, yeah, I don't want them. I don't want them connecting. Listen to this. He doesn't want me connecting what we're doing here. God of wonders beyond all, right? Beyond the galaxies, you are holy, holy, right? Man, he doesn't want that intruding when you're in class on Thursday or when you're at work. When you're having that meeting and that person's just getting on your nerves and it's testing you. It's hard, isn't it? It's hard to go, okay, I got to worship. Now, ramp it up a couple 100 billion times, and you have what the early church was dealing with. They were dealing with people in power and people who held the cards in a lot of their lives who were like, not only just tone it down, but stop altogether. In fact, renounce who Jesus is or we'll kill you, right? We have to keep going back and back to that. So how do we do that? Especially when you see Jesus in chapters 2 and 3 that we talked about last week. Didn't that blow your mind? Be faithful. Be alive, he says, because you look like you're dead. Keep looking at all the opportunities that I'm giving to you. Don't be lukewarm, he says. Look at all of these things. You've fallen from your first love. So how are we supposed to do that when there's all this stuff, all these temptations, all these people saying, tone it down. No, back off on that. No, you're being a little too much. Now, if I were to ask you to define worship, what would you say? I mean, honestly, pretend we're not in church, okay? It's Tuesday, it's about 10 in the morning, let's say. Okay, that's a kind of an unchurchy time, maybe. Tuesday at 10, am I right? Maybe that's your devotion time. I don't know. Sorry. But let's just say, what is worship? If you were to Google worship, you'll get a couple of dictionary terms, right? To give adoration, to give all praise to something, right? And, maybe in a religious way. But I did this the other day. And you scroll down, and it quickly turns into worship music. So all the websites for worship music, different places of worship. So it winds up ending in this, which is awesome. What do you sing? How do you get that music? How do you get that, right? Or what kind of building do you have? Which denomination? And it's all Sunday morning, and it's this. And this is so important, trust me. We're going to see in this passage, in all of Revelation 4 and 5, you get a picture of that all of us together, that's a necessity, right? That's a necessity. But I want to see that, and I want us to see that it's not just a Sunday morning thing or a midweek Advent or Lenten thing. It's not just, hey, we've got service scheduled at the building. See, because I don't believe that when I left the house this morning, I left just eating breakfast, right? Had my kashi and my coffee, and I'm off and running. No, that was an act of worship. Or I was just eating, right? And I mean, just think about how weird that is. No, I got my Bible open, I'm reading, right? I mean, so it's worship. I'm trying to, my whole life should be like, just, God, give me more of who you are and what you have. I want to learn more. I want to get into this, even as I'm eating or talking with my wife or my kids. And so I leave that worship service. I'm worshiping in the car, right? Because I got some worship stuff cranked. And then I come in here and it's worship. And then I go home and it's worship. And do you see what I'm saying? I'm hoping that this is just a continuation of it, because worship doesn't start and end in a place. It's never about a place. Now, let me just say this really quick. I need to throw this in here. This is important. But here's the difference between when you worship at home, when you worship here, is the people around you. We're with other people, right? And again, it doesn't matter whether it's 20, it doesn't matter whether it's 2,000. We need each other. You are tangible proof that God is working. Because so many times we feel alone. We feel like, what are we going to do? I'm sure the people that John was writing to felt alone, like nobody cared. Like all their neighbors were people that didn't care about God, that wanted to shut them down, that any moment would maybe turn them in. I don't think we're there yet in America, but we might be close. Right? I'm not going to be a conspiracy theory. I'm not going to see a conspiracy under every rock. But we enjoy freedom. And I could say what I want to say here, but that could all be pulled away. And then where will we be? We'll do what we always do. We'll find a way. We'll find a way. Because we worship him. Listen, it's not just what we do, it's who we are. And it's so important that we see that what I do is always flows out of who I am, not the opposite, not the other way around. I see the ultimate picture of worship, and here's what it is. Worship is all about not a building, it's not about a denomination, it's not about an organization, it's about Jesus. It's about him. He's the focus, he's the everything, and if I'm following him, well then yeah, that's my life, is following him. I go with him, he goes with me each day, all the time. Look at this picture that we have in Revelation 4. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to boogie through the first 8 really quick. Okay? So we're getting the Reader's Digest, so buckle up. Here we go. You ready? Everybody good? So what I want you to do is to just kind of take it all in. So John is looking, and he beholds, sees this door open in heaven, right? Kind of like the open door on our video, the opening video. And everything looks dark, but right? First couple weeks, you're like, why do we have that? That feels like a horror movie, doesn't it? The creepy music, the creaking and all that stuff, and all of a sudden it opens up. But it's like, whoa, there's something behind there. And it looks pretty good. Looks pretty hopeful. He hears a voice speaking like a trumpet. Big, come up here. I got to show you what must take place. I got to show you this. As one of my favorite preachers said, like with Revelation, it's not about what happens next. It's more about what John sees next. He's showing us pictures of God's triumph. We're going to see it week after week. You're going to get tired of me saying it, and I hope you do. Not get tired of it, but I hope you're like, oh, wow, he keeps saying that. It's another picture. Because when you feel like giving up, and when you feel like giving in, and you feel like, man, I can't, my sin is too much, you need to be reminded of who God is. Because if I know anything, I know right now the situation that we're in, no matter where you think, there's someone telling you got to think this way, act this way, talk this way, right? Align yourself with this, align yourself with that, or else. Now again, the death penalty may not be on the table, but a whole lot of unpleasant things we're experiencing, or at least we're worried that we might. So I need a picture, right? I need something big. I need to see reality. And this is a reality because this as I've been talking about in the Bible studies on Wednesday and on Sunday, this is not linear, meaning it's not like this event. It's not chronological. A lot of times Revelation is seen that way, but when you actually read it in its context, as we talked about on Wednesday, the world ends probably a number of times in the book of Revelation. It does. So if it's a chronological thing, when you get to the end, I think it's of chapter 6, world ends at the end of chapter 6. Okay, so chronology is not there. But what we want to do is not get caught up in that, but get caught up in the image, what he sees and what it means. Because this is what's happening right now. In the middle of all this stuff, there is a throne in heaven. Now notice that he was in the Spirit. What did Jesus say to the woman at the well? John records it. Same John, same guy. Got to worship in spirit and in truth. What's John? He's in the Spirit. You wonder if he put that together. I'm sure he did. It's like, wow, I'm in the Spirit. And I'm being brought into the biggest worship service. Listen, I don't care if there are churches out there that worship thousands on Sundays, and it's magnificent. There are basilicas and cathedrals, and there's these massive, impressive things. But let me just tell you that it feels so small compared to this worship service. See, this is where it all starts. The throne. The throne. The throne, the throne, and the one seated on the throne. That's where worship starts. Trusting in him, seeing him, saying, man, that's my Lord. I love him. He's there on that throne. He looks like these precious jewels, right? A jasper, carnelian. I was told in the middle of the two services that those are Cornell's colors, right? We have a guy who's a doctor in the first service, and he went to Cornell, and he's like, that's it's one of the colors, like bright red is Cornell's colors. I'm like, wow, there you go. So a little Bible history for you, and a little history of Cornell University. So he actually looks like this radiant jewel. And around the throne is a rainbow. Takes you back to Noah. God's promise, God's faithfulness, God's glory is there. And the rainbow appears like an emerald. Could you imagine that? I can't even wrap my mind around. I mean, John's trying to find words to explain the unexplainable here. So just keep with the vision as it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, but it's always, listen to this, it's always around the throne. The one on the throne, he's what matters, right? Because we got some other little thrones, right? There's 24, and on those thrones are seated 24 elders. Some scholars think it's kind of like the 12 tribes, those leaders kind of representing them, and also maybe 12 apostles, but it's sort of like the totality, and the leaders of God's people are there and represented, clothed in white garments, right? Washed in the blood of the Lamb. They have golden crowns. We heard that in chapters 2 and 3. We'll get a crown of life. Maybe this is God's way of saying, this isn't made up. Say, this is not some fantasy book. This is real. It's reality, and it's happening in real time. Like, you can't see it now because all you can see is the bad stuff. All you can see is the attacks and the threats and all of that. He's saying, look, again, that's where spirit comes in. Like we're able to see beyond it while it's happening. See, I'm so caught up, and this is I'll admit to you. I'm like, Lord, I just want you to take me out of it. I'm like that old Calgon commercial. You remember that? If you're a little older, you probably remember that. Take me away, right? Calgon, take me away. The older people, it was like some kind of washing detergent, and or something like that. But escape. God's going, look, it's going to be tough. We've heard this over and over again. You're going to be in the middle of this. But look at the reality. The real reality is not that emperor can get you. It's not that power can take you down, or that boss, or that governmental leader, or whoever it is, or that bully at school. No, because he's on the throne. We forget that, don't we? He's on the throne. And there's these, they're all around the throne to give glory to him. The throne, there's flashes of lightning, rumbles, and peals of thunder. Before the throne are 7 torches of fire. Those are the 7 spirits of God. So the Spirit is there. And before the throne, there's a sea of glass like crystal. Again, in the Bible, the sea is often very, it's kind of tumultuous. It represents the distance between us and God, whatever separates us. There's sea monsters going to be coming out of that. But here, it's like crystal. Man. There's still, right? He's not come yet. But it's already right there. That's so calm. And around the throne, living creatures, like a lion, like an ox, like a man, like an eagle. And again, you can get caught up in what those are, but what's it's saying is, like, every living creature, man and all the creatures, the things that fly, the things that run around on the ground, they're all around the throne, representatives of them. So biblical history, bam, boom, there, right? All the animals, all the living creatures, boom, there, all around the throne. Like, every time I read this, I'm like, wow, it just gets cooler and cooler. It gets bigger and bigger. It's like, think about like on a TV show, like the camera panning out, and you're like, wow, that's cool. And then it goes a little further out, and you're like, whoa, and they're there too. Boom, and then that's there. And these creatures are saying, holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty, who was and is to come. Wow. And then whenever those living creatures give glory and honor and thanks to him who is seated on the throne, who, by the way, see, he can't even describe him without saying who lives forever and ever. It's just, he can't help himself. That's who he is. He's eternal. John saw him suffer. He saw him die. He saw him give his life for them, for him. John referred to himself as the disciple whom Jesus loved. So he knows, or he saw him alive. He saw him out of the grave. He saw him ascend into heaven. And now we get a picture of what's going to happen from that moment till the end and even beyond. Man, when they see him, what do? When they see him worship, they cast their crowns before the throne, right? That's where that line comes, in the hymn, casting down their golden crowns around the glassy sea, right? You almost want to hear the holy, holy, right? I mean, it gets you stirred up. You got to write a song like that's big like that. Worthy are you, our Lord and God. That's worship. That phrase. We get caught up in so it's believing that he is worthy, and that he is Lord, he is God, that he alone, not me, not you, not anyone else, should receive glory and honor and power. Why? Because he made all things. There is no one else. Listen to me, anybody that comes to you trying to exert power over you, none of them, not in the history of the world, can say that they made everything, or they can't claim to have made anything out of nothing. Do you know anyone that's made anything out of nothing? Right, we got a builder in the back, you got to buy stuff. Right, Josh, you got to go to the lumber yard, you got to call, right? There's materials. And God has given us all, and we create some cool stuff. But not out of nothing. Right? You say, well, okay, so you make something out of nothing, and then you can claim to have absolute authority and absolute power. It's always, this book is always, especially Revelation, is always reminding us that by his will they existed and were created. How cool is that? And then you look at chapter 5. Man, it's amazing. Again, this worship just continues, right? The scroll is opened. Jesus, the Lamb who was slain, the only one worthy to open it up, to unveil what God is doing, unveil this truth about the world. And around the throne, the living creatures, the elders, in chapter 5, verse 11, the voice of many angels. Imagine how loud that must have been, numbering myriads and thousands of thousands, saying, worthy is the Lamb who was slain to receive. Again, it's the same thing. Power, wealth, wisdom, and might, and honor, and glory, and blessing. And I heard every creature in heaven and under earth and under the earth and in the sea and all that is in them, saying, to him who sits on the throne and to the Lamb be honor and glory and might forever and ever. That's what worship is. It's not a place, although it can happen in a place. It can happen in a living room. It can happen at a kitchen table, right? I've had some of the most amazing experiences of worship just visiting somebody and having communion on their kitchen table. A very unchurchy place. But it's not the place that makes it churchy. It's Jesus bringing his people together, right? And with this being the attitude, give me a place with 5 people who are like just really on their face and want what God wants, over like 2,000 that are just want to come and see the show, right? Which is the powerful expression of God's truth. Now, I want to see those 2,000 on their face and doing that too. But you see what I mean? We have this picture. I want you to take this picture to heart. I want you to put it deep into your soul. These are probably 2 of the most incredible chapters in all of Scripture. Just makes me wonder, scratch my head, like why we want to throw Revelation out. Because if we do, we throw this out. A picture of heaven itself, picture of that reality that's happening right now, not in the future, but now. I can't wrap my mind around that. But that's really what matters. This is real truth. This isn't fantasy. This is real life. And God said, I want you to have that picture in front of you all the time. Keep going back to it and back to it and back to it. And it becomes like, and I'll finish with this, that soldier, you've seen the scene in the movies, right? Maybe they're in one of the most powerful ones is, that they get captured or they're in that prison and they're kind of wasting away, but they have a picture of their wife or their kid, maybe both. You know what I'm talking about, right? And it's that soul-searching moment, man. They just want to give up. They just don't see any light ahead. And they look at that, though. They look at that picture. And maybe that picture gets taken from them, but they got the picture up here, right? They got it in here. And the filmmaker kind of shows them replaying that memory, wondering perhaps what those people that he loves are doing right now. Because that's reality. Not the beating he's going to receive, right? Not the torture that's going to happen. Maybe not even the death that he might have to succumb to. But there's that. His love for them, their love for him. So God's saying, hey, I want you to have this picture. My love for you, my grace for you, my mercy, my power for you. When everything seems like there's no hope. Like, how can I keep doing? How can I be faithful like he calls me to in chapters 2 and 3? Look at chapter 4 and 5. It's there. Let that image speak to you and challenge you and encourage you in his name. Amen.